couple chapters ago, we got the whole backstory of Kokushibo, and just seeing his side of the story. His growing up, being the brother of Yorichi, super mega demon slayer, pretty much the founder of breathing techniques, not the founder of the demon slayers. He ended up joining, but he's pretty much the creator of breath. He's the one. He created the sun breath, the original breath. But as we were in the last chapter, we know that Tanjiro is like seeing whole parts about memories from his ancestors, and this scenery and layout looks a lot like what we saw earlier in the series when we first kind of like saw the face of Yorichi in one of the flashbacks. I'd have to go back and look exactly what chapter it was, but I'm sure you know what I'm referring to. When we first saw this big, scary looking dude with the marks on his face, giant head of hair, swordsman, and then seeing aspects of Kokushibo. It's like how do they tie together? But as it were, we're seeing him in this whole memory. He's conscious, but he's still like playing the part through memory, so it's not like he can change things that happened. He still has to go through the motions of everything that was present. He's still kind of confused though, but Tanjiro figures it out. He's a bit smart about it, and then it shows at the same time while he's in the world where people are alive and are kind of hoping that they manage to find somebody soon. They have to have obviously ways to fix Tanjiro, or at least get him up. But whether that's going to be by Tanjiro himself or Nezuko, if he ends up becoming a demon, or how it however it plays into the story, I do like that kind of like very easy shift between what's happening in this character's mind versus what's happening outside. That reminds me, during the Alvarez arc when Natsu was unconscious, and you kept seeing aspects of his mind, and just the workings of what his subconscious was doing, and then showing what's happening to everybody else. He's going through some like weird character kind of like mental tie-ins. All these crazy events are going on, and obviously in Kimetsu no Yaiba they're fighting Muzan, and Tanjiro, who's dying, he needs to figure out what he's gonna do. Maybe by this whole flashback, and maybe he'll find out something about about the sun breathing that he'll be able to bring back for the fight with Muzan. There was a part that I liked a lot, because I think it tied towards that, and it was about the sun earrings. So as it were, they're just kind of like, let's go find Yushiro, cure him, and he'll be able to maybe do something. But then it's back to Tanjiro in this flashback memory kind of deal, and he's talking to Yorichi, and Yorichi's discussing like aspects about his upbringing, what it was like for him, because we know the side from Kokushibo. We know all about his brother. He was born with that ability to kind of see things transparently, kind of like what Himejima got, and he wasn't really a normal child. He was kind of weird. He seemed a little bit autistic, to be perfectly honest. But he talks about his mother, and his mother being a religious kind of like shut-in woman, and we know that she was ill, and she was progressively getting worse throughout Kokushibo and Yorichi's childhood. But she says that their ears couldn't hear the sun god, so they're, even though they prayed for him, they never heard anything back. It's why the earrings have the sun on it. They're like talismans, and hoping you can you could hear the sun god through that, like aiding. I thought that was a little neat. I always thought that was just a cool character design aspect for Tanjiro, as you don't really see you don't see male characters with a lot of accessories like that especially because they're they're big, like dangling earrings, and like on top of that they got the rising sun on them. I just always thought that was one of the more attention grabbing parts about him. I'd say it's that when he's got his Nezuko backpack on, and the cool like black and green checkerboard clothing that he wears. I always just like that aspect about him. But it was cool to see that tied into some lore in the series with, what do these earrings mean. I don't remember if it was mentioned at some point earlier in the series, but regardless, I do like seeing that now. But there was the scene we saw from Kokushibo where he made his brother the flute, and that was really nice that you got to see that nice little touching part from both sides. It was something that Kokushibo had a memory tied to that ended up prevailing in the end, because we know that Yoriichi had it pretty much his entire life until the moment he died, and then Kokushibo had it on him until the point he died. Having something to remember his brother, which was really just kind of like heartwarming, and that whole dark conflict that went on between them. But it was very apparent to Yoriichi that when he was gonna get sent off as a monk, he left when his mother died, but he decided he was just gonna go, freely live in the world, and ended up coming across this girl who her family died to sickness, and she seemed to really just kind of need someone. She's like out in a rice field with like a bucket. I think she was taking the tadpoles and putting them in the rice field, or I don't know if she was taking them from the rice field and putting them somewhere. I think that was that she left them in the rice field. I'm guessing there's frogs in there. I'm actually very curious to like how common of a thing that is for like the more countrysides of Japan, because like the way I thought it's like you walk across somewhere on the street, you see like a worm on like the sidewalk or like the road, and you pick it up, toss it back in the grass. It's just that you don't really need to do it. It's not gonna be really affecting it. It's just that passive kindness that you display upon some form of compassion for these little creatures. And it was just nice to tie in for the two of them that met, because they ended up having a nice connection between Yoriichi and this girl Uta, and he ended up kind of just hanging out for a long time, and you can definitely tell that she was happy around him even without seeing the point where they ended up getting married, and we're gonna have a kid, rather, were very bold in there, because just like that part where he talks about her dark eyes, she looks really sad, and then like the very next panel just shows them walking, and following that she looks very talkative. And the fact that he mentions like she talked all the time, she was a super talkative girl, really just showed like, well, that's what she probably that's what she's really like. And she ended up breaking past that sadness and that kind of like crippling depression in a way that was tied to this one character. And you have Yoriichi, who's this very calm guy who doesn't talk a lot from what we saw. I mean, really, like, he didn't even really say words for years, and it wasn't until like what I don't remember, was it like 6 or 7 with Kokushibo was the first time you heard his brother talk. So just that pairing of near silent and chatterbox, that's cute. But they ended up living together. They they became a couple, and while Yoriichi went out one day to find a midwife for for his wife before she gave birth, he ended up finding like some old dude who, during a war, his son got injured, and he was going to go see him before either he died or see him afterwards. He just wanted to see the existence of his son again, it seems. And by the time that Yoriichi got back, his wife and child were both dead, and he just kind of like sat in one place, holding the both of them for 10 days. Just that obsessive depression for the poor guy. There's one thing I want to note. I want to know like how far back demons really are in the series, because I know Muzan is like 1,000, and I think it was Kokushibo. I'd have to look at how old he is. I know he's not. I think he's like half as old as Muzan. I'd have to look at an exact like timeline. I think he's like a couple hundred. But I'm wondering, like, why would you leave your wife alone at night when you know that there's a possibility of demons around? That part I'm a little bit iffy on in the world, because it's not like, well, demons were new, he had no idea what was going to happen. At this point, I feel like if demons were a known thing, then you wouldn't leave her alone. You'd have some way, you either send a word to get somebody over there, or you take her with you. I don't know. Maybe that was just part of that carefree, like, maybe it was he wasn't thinking about it, him and her like out in the middle of nowhere. kind of thing that ended up doing it for him. There's sense behind it that you could probably like put there, but I'm still kind of curious of without some form of reasoning. It's like, well, why did you do it? I don't know. But he ended up getting found by a demon slayer and guessing from his hair, an ancestor around Goku. And, it hints more after he joins them and he shows like, him teaching them breaths and them developing that breath into their own breath. That character that, found him has got fire on his sword. So, yeah. Our Goku ancestor. Always they're tied to the first breath. I like it. It's nice. But at one point while out and about when they're killing demons, they're progressing, becoming stronger as demon slayers, he ends up running into Muzan, and he says, when he saw him, the guy who is, he's the root of all the demons. He is their tying point. He says that he understood at that point his existence in life was to kill this man. He existed solely to eradicate this person from existence. I'm a huge fan of the fact that we're seeing, aspects of these two brothers. We saw it from Kokushibo's standpoint, now we're seeing it from Yorichi's standpoint. I really look forward to seeing, from Muzan's standpoint, just the flat, like this scene. We get the same scene. I'd be perfectly fine if they took literally the same chapter, changed a couple, like, just POVs and the thought bubbles instead, of like, if this next chapter, it's all through, like, narrated from Kokushibo, it's, like, literally almost the same chapter, but later narrated through Muzan, what was going in his head at the time. I just think that's a really neat kind of way to see basic aspects of the story just from when you're seeing it from all these different characters. And not just from them talking, but it's just deep in their mind, but it's so easy to, like, just compare, like, small parts, like, Kokushibo and Yorichi and how they saw their mother and how they really just kind of like saw their lives, growing up. So that was really quick but I think very enjoyable chapter to read. I really want to get the next one just because I want to see what he was really capable of in his prime. Because we already know that he was able to pretty much kill Kokushibo when he was a super old man, and he's possibly, at least until Tanjiro manages to surpass him, Yorichi was the greatest demon slayer to exist in, known world of the demon slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba history. But other than that, tell me what your thoughts are about this chapter. It was a pretty fast read chapter. A lot of, impactful but short read dialogue and narrations between the characters. Very interested to see what Tanjiro gets out of this, because right now we're literally in a flashback of a flashback. Yorichi is telling the story inside of Tanjiro's memory, so we're getting flashbackception, and I'm guessing it's gonna have to do with just a way to grasp the sun breath, a way for him to really put Muzan down, and that is going to be really intriguing way of just like how it affects Tanjiro. How's Tanjiro going to come back with it? Because I'm still wondering if Tanjiro is going to get somehow purified and turn and stay human, or if he's going to become a demon. Him and Nezuko are just going to forever live as these brother sister two demon slaying demons. But other than that, comment below, tell me your thoughts are. I'd really appreciate thumbs up from the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Bye.